And I hope you ain't new to the 3 words they say, but I mean them when I say them. And I hope we don't break. Said I hope we don't break.
So, welcome to another episode of the Unconventional Office. Today in the office we have a very special person. He's a rapper who's made major waves in his career since the very start. We have Eddie Fresco. Eddie, welcome to the office.
Nice to meet you, my brother. Nice to meet you. I've already met you. But yeah, thank you for the welcome, bro. I appreciate it. And I'm happy to be here.
Cool, it's always a pleasure. Before we start, I think we should say that we go back in the day. I mean, we've
Exactly.
been familiar with each other for like 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years. I think we met back in JC. I
Yeah,
think I was first year, you were second year now.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, back
And
to JC.
I started with it because I want to ask you, how has like the Eddie Fresco from the very beginnings of his career to the Eddie Fresco now changed and developed, even your perspective on life in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's changed a lot. Like, back when I was in JC, I think it was the first time I actually started to think about actually creating a 215 collective and everything. So back then I was very unsure of what I wanted to do with music. I just wanted to make music and experiment with everything. But now I feel like it's been 5 years already of making music, you know, and with time I feel like I'm narrowing down what my sound is. I'm improving on my skills as well as an artist. So it's changed a lot, man, but always for the better, I think.
Always. And like, do you generally look back on those days and miss them, or you just look to the future and see what else you can come up with?
No, I don't miss them at all. To be honest with you, like if there's one thing that I miss, maybe it's the it's not knowing much, you know. I think in the beginning when you start to make music, you do it solely for the passion, and maybe since you don't have knowledge about what the business side of things are, you just think that music is gonna get you so far ahead of everyone, you know. So I think when you grow up and you start to realize what it actually is, it changes a bit the, how can I say, like before you did it as a hobby now, but when you start to realize what it is, I guess it starts to become a bit more of a, you still enjoy it, but you have to be smart with how you move in it as well. So I think that's the main thing that changes, is the knowledge you build when you're in the
Exactly.
game, I guess. Yeah.
And I know you have like a very vast insight of the industry, especially when it comes to releasing music
Yeah.
and but beyond like the music itself. I know the story of Eddie Fresco story of life
Yeah.
is something which is quite turbulent, but something maybe you do not speak about too much. Could you like explain where Eddie Fresco came from, where he started, and what brings you to the Eddie Fresco of today?
Yeah, so I guess originally I wanted to start making music, I think, when I was about 13. And all of this came after, you know, some turbulent things, I guess, happened in my life. It was basically me and my brother losing our parents, which, you know, made us, I guess, I don't know if it's the word, but like we had to do things our own way, you know. We had no guidance, had nothing, no one to look up to, none of this, except for maybe our grandfather and all of this. But I guess we had to choose our own lane, and we had to decide what we wanted to do with our life because it was such a turbulent thing in our life, you know. So I think that's mainly what pushed me into not caring about whether music works or not. I had nothing to really lose at that point, I guess. So yeah, that's why I went ahead with music, and I didn't really care about where it went at that point, at least.
And I'd imagine like that it translates into your craft because you put out a lot of emotion, a lot of passion and drive into what you do.
I guess I'm not gonna lie to you, like I never really speak about my situation in my music. Not that I don't want to in the future. Of course I plan to do so in the future. I have huge plans for what I want to do with my story, you know. But I feel like it's not the time yet. I feel like I've always had this problem with, I guess, not wanting people to pity me. I never wanted to use my story to get to where I want to get, you know. I want to do it on my own terms at the same time. It doesn't mean that my story doesn't affect what I'm doing and I guess the process of everything, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to use that story like, look at me, look at me. Like, the time will come for that, you know.
Of course.
I guess so.
And I guess like it's just another page that your followers and fans are waiting to unfold. So
Yeah, exactly.
do
Like,
waiting.
if they stick around enough, I'm sure they'll get to
Exactly.
hear a lot about it. So
And like beyond the music and beyond your story, I know something in particular which has definitely changed is your appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember you back in the day, mad colors,
Yeah.
long socks, and I remember
yeah.
big changes. But one
For
particular
sure.
thing in your appearance which really strikes me, and I'm sure a lot of people, is your tattoos,
yeah,
which are maybe more bold than one would normally opt for.
I guess. I
And
guess.
like for example, your neck tattoo in
Yeah, yeah,
particular
yeah,
is something which is really striking.
yeah, yeah.
How do you think like Malta deals with tattoos and the tattoo culture in general? How do you think it is?
It's most definitely improving.
Mm-hmm.
It's most definitely improving. Like sometimes I don't know, you still get the one-offs here and there, you know. Like I think 3 days ago, I was at the convenience store just buying some random things, you know, and there was a woman that was right behind me, and she turned and she saw me, and she was like, at first she not that scared, but I don't know what to say, and then she looked at me, she was like, "You have such a pretty face. Why did you like ink it up?" So you still get those moments, you know. But at the end of the day, I think with culture, with media, with everything, with how things are expanding nowadays and how fast the internet moves as well, I think I think it's improving a lot for sure. You like I said, you still get those one-offs, you know, but it is what it is.
Do
Like
you think it differs from abroad though, or is it just like particularly a bit?
it's exactly the same, man. Like you would think that with tattoos we're still super far behind, but I think regardless of regardless of where you are, maybe not in America, because I think maybe in America it's a bit oversaturated with it. But I think like unless you're in America or Russia, people are still gonna look at your tattoos. Like it's still something which is, you know, not everyone opts to go ahead
Mhm.
with. So I think it is what it is, you know. Yeah.
Cool. And like jumping back to the music, I know that most of your music is in English,
For
but
sure.
recently you've dabbled a bit in
Yes,
Maltese.
yes.
We've seen the clips on TikTok. I think they're really
Yeah.
cool.
Thank
It
you,
seems
brother.
like a lot of people are resonating with the.
For sure, I think so as well,
Very
yeah.
nice. And what made you like try that out in your music? I mean, it's definitely something new in general locally.
Yeah. I think I wasn't getting enough clicks. No, it wasn't that. Basically, I've been thinking about like adding Maltese to my music for a very long time now, and of course, it starting out making music and especially what the scene was back when we started. I feel like Maltese used to hinder us from actually going growing as artists in our own country because I feel like there was this thing which is like if you're Maltese, like you're only gonna get so far, you know. And it's still there for sure, but not as much as it was. I think. Um, can you? I lost
I
it.
mean, what's like the motivation behind the use of Maltese?
Ah,
Like,
yeah. The motivation behind the use of Maltese was mainly, to be honest, I wanted to start having fun with my
mm,
music again. I feel like it was a very smart thing to do, and also I feel like it was a great idea in the sense that I'm Maltese, and at the end of the day, um, there are a lot of Maltese people which listen to me as well. And I feel like regardless of whatever type of music you listen to as a Maltese artist, you don't really resonate or feel like that's something you own in a way. So I think me adding Maltese to the lyrics in some of my songs ended up allowing the listener, the Maltese listener at least, to be like, oh, look, this is us. Like, this is exclusively us. And I think that makes it beautiful, you know. I think it creates a bigger connection with whoever is listening. And at the same time, I think it's super unique. I don't see no other artist doing it,
exactly.
actually. And I was inspired by an artist called French the Kid, I think. He,
Could be.
I think it's French the Kid. My apologies if I'm wrong about the name. But he mixes French with English. He's
All
from
right.
the UK, I think. And the second I heard him do it, I was like, this is so sick. Like, if you do it well, people will respect it. And I was inspired by that. So,
Cool. And I mean, beyond unlocking a new dimension in like your artist
exactly, for sure.
profile and tipping that to the Maltese people that have supported you, I think
Exactly.
it's very cool because we've seen Canadian, American, and UK artists like who speak English in their music, like dabble in English and in
Yeah.
French and in Arab as well. Sometimes we've seen Drake touch up on it
Yeah,
briefly,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
It
pretty
was
cool,
on
you
the
know.
Heady One song, no, I
Exactly.
think. Exactly. No, I think it's cool as fuck. Cool as hell.
We're good. We're
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. I think it's really cool to mix up languages and create something super unique at the end of the day, you know? So, yeah, kudos to everyone who does that.
Exactly.
I love it.
And definitely, we can't wait to see more Maltese in your
For
music.
sure, you will be hearing more.
And like taking the jump, I know you've been through like the motions in your career. How
Yeah.
does one go from just an artist who's putting his music out on the internet to a proper artist who has a legion of fans, who has millions of streams like you do? What's that process like?
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't feel like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate every single person that follows me and everything, but in my head, when I look at myself, when I look at my Spotify, when I look at everything, to me, I'm not as big as everyone maybe puts me how can I say it? I'm not as big as everyone thinks in their head. And I understand that from the country that we are, it might look like it's something insane, but when you really look into it, it's like, to me, I'm not saying that I didn't do anything which wasn't hard to do from this country, but to me, that I, I'm far back from where I want to be. So I think the first step is not thinking of. You have to think about how you're gonna get there, but you cannot you cannot think you got there.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? It's like the second you think you got somewhere is the second you'll start slowing down. It's the second you'll start like saying, okay, I don't have to work as hard. And I think that's one thing which I've always done. It's like, one, as I always say, put money into your music. Like, if you want to do this as a hobby, go ahead, just post your TikTok videos and post your Instagram videos, and it could still work. Don't get me wrong, like, plenty of people blow up just by organic reach. But if you just want to count on organic reach in a competition where there's 50,000 songs uploaded every day, go ahead. It's
True.
like, you get me? To me, you have to look at, if you really want to make money from this, you have to look at it like every other business. And there's this thing we say in the music industry, which is like, it's not 2016 anymore. 2016, you could post music on SoundCloud and it would blow up like that. Labels caught up, the internet caught up, everyone caught up. So it's not the same game like it used to be. Unless you know how to really put yourself out there, nothing's gonna happen.
Exactly. And I mean, the passion still stands, but
Yeah,
adopting like a business approach to your music, I think it's very important nowadays
yeah.
with everything you've said.
I mean, it depends on what you want to do with music. If you just wanna if you just wanna make music, it's one thing. That was never my goal.
Mm.
I love making music. I love everything about making music. I don't think I'll ever stop. But I'm trying to get my money up too. I'm trying to have the nice house. I'm trying to have the nice car. I'm trying to have my chain. I'm trying to have everything. So if I want to be realistic with my goals and where I want to get, you have to look at things a bit differently as well.
Exactly, well
Yeah.
said. And like before jumping into the international gigs, I know
Yeah.
you've done a number of gigs since you've
Yeah.
started. I'm going to Malta. What do you think of the local scene? How do you think, like hip hop in particular, do you think it has developed? Where do you think it's going?
I think it's developed a lot, to be honest with you.
Mm.
I'm really impressed by how far it's developed. And the one thing I feel like is still lacking is artist understanding that it's business nowadays, and it's not just. Of course, this is always saying if you want to do something, but my bad. I can tell when I look at an artist if they're doing this for fun or if they really want to do this,
Mm.
really want to do this. And I think some people still don't get the fact that, unfortunately, again, I say unfortunately, today is business. And I feel like a lot of people focus too much on the music and then they don't focus enough on how they're representing themselves. What emotion are they making the audience feel when they see them, when they see how they represent themselves, when
Mm.
they see their music videos, when they see the whole package. So I feel like music wise, we've improved a lot. I feel like style wise, we've improved a lot. I don't hear beats that sound 70 years old anymore. But I do think there are artists killing it. Like
Mm.
I see Reese recently. He's really been paying attention to what he's supposed to do. So kudos to him. And there's a lot of other artists doing the same thing. So I think it's grown. We still have ways to grow, as always. That will never stop. But I'm really enjoying the fact that it's flourished. I guess that's the word. Yeah.
Cool. And what piece of advice would you give like to budding local artists who want to get their music heard?
Hard work, like a lot of hard work. You can't sleep. Just understand metrics.
Mm.
Like every Friday, there's 50,000 songs uploaded on Spotify. Every Friday. If you think that you, with your one song with no fan base, is gonna get heard with with 50,000 other people in competition with you, just forget it. Like the person, if you're waking up at 10 working on music, there's someone waking up at 9 working on music. There's someone waking up at 8. There's someone who didn't sleep all night working on an album.
Mm.
You have to understand how much competition there is nowadays. It's not the 80s, it's not the 90s, it's none of that no more. And nowadays, I think everyone can make music simply off their phone with a headphone, like with a pair of Apple headphones plugged into your phone, download a couple apps. You can really there's a artist which just did that actually. What's his name? He was a part of the internet. But anyway, he's trending like crazy right now.
Mm.
He also had a TED talk. The name isn't popping up. Steve Lacey, I think, something. I don't know. Anyway, he made a
It
whole
sounds
album
familiar. I'm
on
trying
his
to
iPhone, and he
exactly.
had a TED talk explaining everything he
Mm.
did. So I think nowadays you really need to understand how much competition there is. You need to understand what you want from this music thing as well.
Exactly.
Do you really want to be that big artist? And if you do, are you ready to put in the work? If you don't want to be that big artist, just go ahead and enjoy it. It's a beautiful thing. Music is a beautiful thing, you know. But if you really want to make this work, if you really want to grow, put in work. Just put in
Exactly.
work and never stop.
I mean, like the hard work mindset in general is what has taken artists to the next step. I mean, we've
Yeah,
seen your international gigs as well, and you've developed quite a fan base in places like the Czech Republic. I think
yeah,
that
yeah,
the hard
yeah.
work is the main motivation
Yeah,
behind it.
for sure.
But like, what's that about? How's that been? Like performing abroad and getting your music to a demographic which would otherwise not be so
Yeah,
familiar if you hadn't.
it's been amazing to be honest with you. Um, it's amazing to see how people react to your music
Mm.
abroad. That's one thing which definitely stuck with me. It's like, and of course, it's all love to all Maltese listeners. I love every single one of them. But it's just crazy when you go perform abroad sometimes. No one knows who you are. 3 people in the crowd know who you are now. And it's 400 people jumping to your music, never heard it a single day in their life. But the vibe carries on and they give it back to you, you know. And I feel like that's something which we're definitely lacking in Malta. I feel like if there's one thing we need to break out of, is this thing where it's like, oh, but that guy's knows me, so if I jump, I might look corny, or if this guy knows me, and I don't know. Like when you go abroad and you see people literally have no idea who I am, and you see 300, 400, 500 people jump into your music, you start to understand, you know, that there has to be something.
Mm.
There has to be something that's wrong because it's not one country that does this. Every single time I've performed abroad, let's say not every single time, I've performed in front of like, I wouldn't say weak crowds, but like weaker
Mm.
crowds, maybe from like a small town or something. You start to understand the small island syndrome, you know. When
True.
you go to small towns, it's a lot like here. It's a lot like people are scared because they know everyone knows each other. So it's like kind of harder to be yourself because
Exactly.
everyone's judging.
True.
But then when you go to cities and you see like everyone just having fun, just wilding out, I think it's beautiful, you know. So it's an amazing transition, and you actually get to understand if you're a good artist or not, if that makes sense.
It does.
When you perform music in front of like Maltese crowds, 80% of the time you have to work really hard to understand if they like it or not. But when you go there, if they don't like it, no one's jumping.
Mm.
If they like it, everyone's gonna have fun with you. So
And I know like the difference in energy is prevalent like from Malta to abroad. Do you have like
insane, man.
we've seen a lot of clips as well of
Yeah,
your gigs. We've seen
yeah,
it in
yeah.
music videos. Can you mention like one particular gig which was definitely crazy and you'll remember forever?
Yeah.
Maybe like a crazy story from.
I mean, like gigs abroad are like sick now. There's there's a lot where to start from. You know, I don't know. There are like I don't want to sound corny now. That's the only thing. But there are shows where you're like, am I really this guy? Like there was one show in Slovakia, I think, where I had like bras thrown at me. I was like, I'm not ASAP Rocky. Like, chill. So that was one experience, which I was like, okay, plus 2 points to the career, you know. Put that in the archives. But I don't know. Apart from that, is the stage diving that's
Mm.
crazy. I don't know. Seeing big artists, which that's one of the craziest things which has been happening since I've been going to Czech, and I know certain people over there. I don't know. I met like all 7 of the biggest artists over there in like the same week, all in the same backstage. I don't know. It gets crazy, you know. You start to wonder how you got in that position.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, shows abroad in general, like, yeah, there are stories. I mean, we almost got arrested at the like I think 2 shows before the last show on tour. Like sound guys showing up late, and then artists putting hands on the sound guys, and then
That's another like page from the ASAP Rocky book. Eh? So
yeah, it's like no tours get crazy. I mean, there was one time I almost lost my license in Czech Republic because there was no one to drive us to the show. So my manager was like, "You drive," and I was like, "Sure." I think he said you could look up the license plate on their database. As soon as he gets the car and I'm driving, 15 minutes, I'm on the highway. I remember that I left my driver's license back home
Oof.
because I told my brother to pick something up from the post office for me, and he needed the driver's license. So yeah, I ended up calling him at like 3:30 in the morning, begging him to send me pictures of my driver's license. But they were cool cops, and they didn't arrest me. They didn't take my license. We went
Thankfully.
home, got there in peace. But yeah, crazy things happen on tour. Always carry your driver's license.
Always.
Always.
And that's actually a pretty good segue into my last question. I mean,
Let's go.
despite having a very humble approach towards yourself and your music,
Yeah.
you've had your successes throughout your career.
Yeah.
Was there a particular moment where you've said like, "This is it"?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's been pretty recent that I've been saying things are gonna start happening, and the reason is like I don't. Like next month I have a project dropping with one of the top 5, top 10 artists in Czech Republic. We shot a music video here in Malta. That should be dropping over there, which should do well. Let's say that. There's a lot of other collaborations on the way, which are planned, with other Czech artists. My Spotify is going crazy. I think I'm at like 350,000 monthlies at the moment, and I think four months ago I was at 80,000, 100,000.
Which is a huge bump. I mean,
Yeah. Like it's a huge bump. So yeah, it's that. I think recently I've started to see all the hard work pay off. My Spotify is going up, tours are going up, connections are being made, music is being made, things are planned out. So yeah, some big things to come in the next year, bro, for sure.
Cool.
I
That's
would
great to
say.
hear, man.
Yeah.
Wish
Thank
you nothing but
brother. I
success.
appreciate
I
it.
mean, we've seen you grow
Thank you,
from the very beginning of your career and now
Thank you,
making
bro.
major waves once
And
again.
by the way, just so I ended off on this, this was one of the first people who actually supported me when I was starting to make music. We have a song together, which was one of the
Throwback.
first tracks we actually released. So he was there, he was helping me throughout the way. He was bouncing off ideas with me, supporting me. Back in the clubs when he used to DJ, I don't know if you still DJ at clubs
Of course,
nowadays. I know you
always.
still DJ at parties everywhere, but at clubs I haven't seen you in a while, just because I don't go anymore. But every single weekend we used to go there. He used to play our music at the end. So shout out to you, bro. I
Always
really
a
appreciate
pleasure,
that,
bro.
and I'll never forget that. I
Always.
promise you.
My pleasure. Eddie, once again, thank you so much, bro. I
Thank
wish you
you,
nothing
bro.
but success in
Thank
your
you,
future
brother.
future endeavors.
Same to you.
This has been another episode of the Unconventional Office with the one and only Eddie Fresco. Oh, thank you once again for tuning into an episode of the Unconventional Office. This project is supported by Arts Council Malta and the Insynk Collective and is in media partnership with Malta Daily. If you haven't already, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Don't break. Said I hope we don't break. Mean them when I say them, so I hope we don't break.